The Colts are making a change at quarterback. Does that change strategies for NFL teams? A major injury for a Jets rookie. We talk about all that on Locked On NFL Draft. Let's go.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody. It's your Locked On NFL Draft Power Trio. The man with the view right there, former NFL, AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. There's my man from Rogue Analytics, Ryan Tracy, and I'm your host, John Harris, football analyst, sideline reporter for the Houston Texans, and also owner-operator of FootballTakeover.com. We appreciate you making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day, and I hope that you're making your next listens 2 through 10 all for the Locked On Network because the network is absolutely crushing it. So make sure you're checking out all the team podcasts. Obviously, Locked On Chiefs, Locked On 49ers. And I'll start with this question for Eric. Are you guys still friends after Sunday?
You know what? I blocked that out of my head, and you just had to bring it back. That was a
Blinders.
That was it. That was a spanking that the Chiefs put on the 49ers.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say it's payback. I mean, look, you can talk all you want about my team. My team looked absolutely horrible in the fourth quarter against the Las Vegas Raiders. But I know Ryan Tracy was probably thinking about that in the back of his mind after the TCU Kansas comments. So
I don't know. Hey, what are you going to do? Not everybody can do what you got to do on the coast. I'm just glad it was a nice day out there by the bay.
I'm telling you this. That's one of the most gorgeous places that I've seen a football game. Back in December, we went and played there in San Francisco. I mean, it was just, or Santa Clara, I guess. It's just, it was a gorgeous day. It's like the day that Eric has going on in Denver, and it was just absolutely fantastic. All right, guys, I want to jump into this. This news came down. Actually, I know in Houston, Lovie Smith was talking to the media, and I happened to just look down on my phone because I got an alert. And it said the Indianapolis Colts, Frank Reich, has said Sam Ehlinger is stepping in as starting quarterback for Matt Ryan. So there's a reaction to that. And then he said it's for the rest of the season. So then there's that. And then there's the thought that the Colts can't seemingly get it right at quarterback. And finally, are they doing the right thing in letting Sam Ehlinger at least have some sort of tryout to see what he can do for the Colts? And finally, how do teams look at what's happened in Denver with Russell Wilson, with Indianapolis with Matt Ryan? I don't say Tampa Bay, but Tom Brady's age has shown itself finally at 45. Do we think that changes the way NFL teams are now going to look at this NFL draft class with quarterback and think about drafting as opposed to, no, we'll try and put a Band-Aid on the wound with a veteran that we think can still get it done? Eric, your thoughts about what the Colts' decision with Sam Ehlinger might lead to for other NFL teams looking for a quarterback this offseason?
I think it just goes to show how difficult it is to play the quarterback position at the NFL level right now. And there's no exact science on how to address the quarterback position. Ideally, you would like to draft and develop a guy. But what about the teams that have drafted a guy and then he just didn't develop? So then they draft a guy again, and then he doesn't develop. And then you end up being a hamster in this wheel kind of staying in place. So then, okay, let's go get an aging veteran. And then you see how quickly those skills start to diminish for everyone outside of Tom Brady. So a very difficult position to be in for these QB-needing teams. And I think that's why teams like, again, I covered the San Francisco 49ers, how they have stuck with Jimmy Garoppolo for the most part, or at least kept him as a backup plan just in case. And I think there are a lot of teams right now that wish they had a better backup plan like the 49ers had now. 49ers aren't quite getting the results that they wanted, but I don't necessarily think it's 100% because of Jimmy Garoppolo. I think when you look at how Matt Ryan has played, when you look at how guys like Russell Wilson have played, and the situation that's going on there, I think you can directly correlate the quarterback position to a lot of those team struggles.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, your thoughts about Ehlinger taking over, and how does that impact, you think, some draft war rooms thinking about that decision, looking at Matt Ryan going, man, I thought the Colts would have something. Yes, he's 35. I get it. Russell Wilson's in his early 30s. We've seen guys, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, Drew Brees. We've seen those veterans that have the game down seemingly able to handle it. Your thoughts about this decision and the ramifications throughout the NFL?
For me, the biggest part of the decision is the saying that it's for the season.
Yeah,
I expected a lot more out of Matt Ryan. I got to be absolutely honest because of the experience. The transition hasn't gone the way it is. You'd think that he and Frank Reich can get on the same page, but it hasn't happened yet. Does that mean at this point, 7 games into the season, that you say, that's it, we're over?
Yeah.
I don't buy that. I don't think that that's legitimate. I think that that is some way to light a fire under Matt Ryan. I thought he was going to have a great season because he was going to come in pissed off. I'm surprised at the way that it's gone. I think you got to give Ehlinger a look, and I'm glad that they are. I think designating it for the season is a little bit iffy. But at the end of the day, it comes back to this. Chris Ballard's been thrown for a loop ever since Andrew Luck retired. And it's just that hamster wheel that Croc was talking about. But I like the way they're doing this. Have the guy that is the veteran that you think should be the starter. Bring up guys underneath until you find one that clicks. And that's what this is. This is the dress rehearsal. Can you become that guy? We'll see what Sam does.
I like what they're doing as well because, one, you are committing to the future one way or another, whether it's for a higher draft pick, and I'm not saying they're tanking, but you're going to see what can we get out of Sam Ehlinger. Is he going to be the guy? Now you have an entire, half a season to really figure that out. Is he someone that we can build around and then address other needs in the draft, or does he suck? And if he does, then all right, we get a higher draft pick out of this, and maybe there's a quarterback that will covet high in the draft. I think you guys are spot on saying they've been trying to figure this out since Andrew Luck retired. And they put a Band-Aid on it with Jacoby Brissett. That didn't work out then. It's not working out as well for the Cleveland Browns right now either. I do think that, figuring out exactly what you have in the quarterback and really giving him that time to make his mistakes and grow without having to look over his shoulder, I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
So this is how things have gone for the Colts. I got on the sidelines in 2014. Every year, this is who we faced. In 14, it was Luck. 15, it was Hasselbeck. 16, it was Luck. 17, it was Brissett. 18, it was Luck. 19, it was Brissett. 20, it was Phillip Rivers. 21, it was Carson Wentz. We faced Matt Ryan in this one, and we could potentially face Sam Ehlinger in the second one. That's what they've got 7 Pro Bowlers on that team. Ballard has drafted incredible talent. He traded for DeForest Buckner. He's got incredible talent on that team. He just can't get it right at that position. And in talking to Chris before he took the Indianapolis job, he had always said there were 3 things he was looking for. He wanted to be in the Midwest. He wanted a team that he could come in and he could impact it by him making decisions, not the head coach making decisions. And he wanted a quarterback in place. Indianapolis had all those things. And then when Luck retired in 2019, they just have careened and off the edge and haven't been able to get it back. And that has been just incredibly frustrating. I know for Ballard, it's been obviously for Frank Reich as well. But that decision, I thought, like you guys said, the season. Matt Ryan's banged up. Like, I get it. But they could have said, look, Ehlinger's going to be in there until Ryan comes back, or, hey, we'll make a decision then. No, they just said it is for the season. So, Eric, you're right. This is a decision for the future. Does Sam have it? Does he have some grit and something that you like? Then obviously you go with it. But if not, then you go looking in the draft. And, of course, if things fall out, the bottom falls out. We've seen the Colts draft Peyton Manning once before and Andrew Luck once before. It could probably happen again, especially if they end up in the top 5, which I kind of hope they don't, because I don't want to see Bryce Young or somebody like that go to Indianapolis, if I'm being honest.
The elegant tank. That's what's going on right
now. The elegant tank. Very well. All right. There are some rookies doing some good things. We're going to hit on one guy that we have not mentioned and talked a lot about. Up in Seattle, the Seattle Seahawks rookie class has been killing it. Running back in particular, the corner's been great. We're going to talk about those Seattle draft picks and those rookies in a second. But here's a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp. The word help is massive in all of our lives. And if we don't ask for it, we're never going to get it. There's been times I know in my family's life when I've been stuck on something's just not right for any one of my family members, and we decided to see a therapist. So a therapist could help us. And that is something that BetterHelp can do for you. Therapy. You hear it and you think, I'm I'm weak or no, that's not what therapy is all about. Therapy is help. That's why BetterHelp is where to go. BetterHelp.com/locked-on. Give it a try. BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, accessible, affordable, and entirely online. Get matched with a therapist after filling out a brief survey and switch therapists anytime. You have something going on. Something's not quite right. You don't know what it is. BetterHelp is for you. When you want to be a better problem solver and you want someone to help you get to that point, therapy can get you there. Just to speak to somebody, just for someone to hear your story, for someone to offer you feedback. It's massive in someone's life. Therapy gets you there. Visit BetterHelp.com/locked-on. BetterHelp.com/locked-on to get 10% off your first month. That's better. HELP.com/locked-on. Thanks for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter the most, the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. All right, we're going to talk about the Seahawks in just a second, but I know a lot of you out there are looking for jobs, or you're an employer looking for people to hire for your jobs. Now, the Seahawks are a great example of that. They use the draft to be able to do that. Well, LinkedIn Jobs makes it really easy for you to find the people you want to work for them. All you got to do is go to LinkedIn Jobs, go to the app.com, add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. And then you've got simple tools with LinkedIn, like screening questions, make it easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and subsequently hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Locked In Jobs helps you find a qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. It's LinkedIn Jobs. All right, let's get to the Seattle Seahawks, guys. We always talk about our rookie showcase that we usually do on our Tuesday show. Once the week is complete, the weekend's complete, we look at, hey, this rookie did great. This rookie's done great. Each week that we look up, the Seattle Seahawks rookies are crushing it. Ryan, last week when we were doing our ultimate 7-round draft, Ryan ended up drafting Abe Lucas. Has been fantastic for the Seattle Seahawks at tackle. Their other tackle has been absolutely fantastic, Charles Cross, who they took from Mississippi State. Then there's Tariq Woolen, who might be the best of the rookies. And then there's Kenneth Walker. I don't want to say those four guys have really come in and done everything for the Seahawks, that the success the Seahawks have at 4-3 is all about those four rookies. But Ryan, Tracy, those four guys have absolutely changed the course and the direction of the Seattle Seahawks with just one draft. And we've seen it before. I don't need to tell Eric Crocker, who follows the NFC West, in 2010, when they went Earl Thomas, Russell Okung, and then they followed it up with a few more picks like Richard Sherman and others in the next couple of drafts, the Seahawks became Legion of Boom. They became a team that could compete for championships. I don't know if we're on our way there, but is this the most impressive rookie class that we have seen in 2022 in the NFL?
It's right up there. I think they and the Jets are probably competing as classes overall, but I will tell you this. It's the most improved from camp forward of any class in the league, as far as I'm concerned. And I'll tell you this, that goes hand in hand with the organization, because they're doing what we talk about, building through the draft, getting these classes, but they're also doing what we talked about in the last segment. They brought in a veteran quarterback to give them some stability at quarterback. And so kudos to not only the front office, but the staff for figuring out that if we can get X amount of play out of one position at QB, we can afford to go get these places that we can bolster our whole team that can affect the entire outcome week to week to week.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric, obviously in the NFC West, 49ers taking on the Seahawks. I don't think anybody through 7 games would have said Seahawks 4-3. But Tariq Woolen has arguably been the best defensive player. Kenneth Walker has stepped in after some injuries early on. He is now taking over as a force in that running game. Your thoughts about what the Seahawks did in the draft and how it continues going forward and what the Seahawks could be if this group continues on the ascent it's on.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you guys talked about the 2010 class, 2011, 2012, getting guys like Richard Sherman and some of those other guys to really help produce early and often. Bobby Wagner, he's just now leaving, right? But Bobby Wagner was another guy that was a stalwart of a terrific draft class. I think that's what we're seeing right now. These guys are hitting the ground running. They are being very productive. They're counting on them to make plays. And when you see them right now sitting up there atop the NFC West, I don't know if anybody really saw this coming. But I tried to tell people, don't sleep on the Seahawks because somehow, some way, that little old man Pete Carroll, he's going to figure it out. And that he does. He has instilled a lot of confidence in his players, in his rookies, and in his quarterback, Geno Smith.
Kenneth Walker has been, just outstanding. I see Dameon Pierce every single day, and I'm biased towards Dameon. I think Damien's done a great job, but Dameon won the 4th round. So you think from a value perspective, okay, maybe there's better value because we got him in the 4th. I don't think the Seahawks quibble at all with Kenneth Walker. And I know that our building liked Kenneth Walker too. It was just they had to go get Jalen Petrie. They had to fill as many gaps as they could. And then Dameon Pierce was we were lucky in fact to get him in the 4th round and glad that we did. Now, one other running back, in fact, I think he was RB1 in this draft, tore his ACL. What does the loss of Breece Hall mean for the Jets and for Breece Hall in general going forward? We'll talk about that next. But I want to talk about our friends over at Prize Picks. These guys are absolutely fantastic when it comes to daily fantasy. And this is why I love them so much, because they make things easy. It's this simple. More or less. Here's your projection. More or less. Is John Harris going to have more gray hair after this game or less? Now, probably you should go with more in every situation, but it's not really about me. But that's how easy this is at Prize Picks. You have so many sports to pick from, and all you got to do is pick 2 to 5 players from those sports. Doesn't matter what they are. Premier League, Euro basketball. If you're putting Euro basketball Prize Picks, man, good on you. But you pick your sport, 2 to 5 players, and if they go score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, how you see it, you win up to 10 times your money on any entry. 10 times your money. Any sport, men's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, you name it, they got it. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks.com or download the Prize Picks app today. All right, guys. Breece Hall. I see this, and I had a little bit of a flashback. But if you missed it yesterday, Breece Hall had a 62-yard touchdown run against Denver. Got the Jets rolling. The Jets won again on the road against the Denver Broncos. And then we hear Breece Hall tore his ACL. Looks like there's a meniscus issue as well. And I had a flashback because in 2017, I'm watching one of the great rookie quarterback seasons of all time. And we go out to Seattle, and Deshaun Watson we ended up losing 41-38. But Deshaun Watson put on a show. I mean, an absolute show. And that Wednesday, we come back from Seattle. He tears his ACL in practice. And it's just, we've been looking for this guy for so long. And, it's a quarterback versus a running back. I get it. There's more opportunity for a running back because of the hits that running back takes, et cetera. But Eric Breece Hall, we had talked about him heading into the draft in 2022. He eventually goes RB1 and made a significant splash with the Jets. Between Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, the Jets were just crushing it from a rookie perspective. A, your thoughts about how this impacts the Jets going forward because of how big he was a part of that offense. And B, being a running back, suffering an ACL early in his career in the NFL, what kind of impact do you think that has on him?
I think it is significant, especially for running backs, right? Already we look at running backs like, hey, man, they don't have the longevity in their careers like we see guys in other positions. The 49ers just traded for Christian McCaffrey, and we're looking at him at 26 years old as an older running back because that's around the time they start to kind of fall off that cliff a little bit. When you have an injury like that, you have to see, okay, how is he going to bounce back from that, and then how does it hurt him potentially down the line? Think of guys like Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley just retired or said he's not playing football anymore. I believe he only played 6 years. His highs, extremely highs. But part of the issue was towards ACL at Georgia, trying to come back, having some knee injury issues, and I think a lot of that stemmed from the ACL injury, and then just the pounding on top of that these running backs take. So you hope that he can overcome this adversity. I'd say it's probably not ideal, but if you are Breece Hall, he'd probably tell you, hey, man, I've had to battle a lot of different adversities throughout my life. This is just another thing that I have to overcome. I'm going to work extremely hard. I'll be back next year to start the season better than ever.
Ryan, because running backs take such a beating and such a pounding, Breece Hall went early in the second round. I mean, we're not talking about a first-round pick here. Like Eric brought up, Christian McCaffrey. And I don't think the Panthers, if you went back and said, look, this is what you're going to get out of Christian McCaffrey, you still want to make him the 8th pick. I think it still would have been tough to turn him down because it was instant impact. And he was fantastic for 3-4 years before the injuries really, really kicked in. How do you think a front office looks at something like this? And it goes back to our discussion about the Colts in some sense. Is Breece Hall's ACL, it's something front offices know can happen. But do you think that maybe they look at it and go, you know what? I just don't know that I can take that risk on a second-round running back from that perspective. I'll follow what other teams have done, maybe what the Texans have done in the 4th round, getting a Dameon Pierce, where it's maybe not as penal in some sense, the fact that they took a 4th rounder versus a 2nd rounder. I don't know. Your thoughts about, does this at all affect the front office and how they look at a running back earlier or later in the draft?
I think it's difficult, especially when you're on the bottom end of the standings, and so you have high draft picks. I think that becomes a little bit more cautionary about taking the position early. They take the most beating of any down-to-down player on the offensive side of the ball, right? Other than the guy snapping the ball. I personally feel like it's a little rich, and it's not because of this injury. Breece Hall was going to do this ACL at some point in his career either way. It doesn't matter where he was selected, but it does give you the idea that luckily, I just double-checked because I wanted to make sure. I don't see any knee injury history before.
Right.
So it isn't like it's a recurrent injury. So you have to think that with his body type, I feel like he can recover from that pretty well, and you get your investment back. There are some other backs that get taken that already have some history that I think puts themselves even farther down the line that you really can't do that in the top 100, in my opinion. But I think it will give teams a little bit more of a cautionary tale to say, man, if we just wait around, can we still get them? Is the rest of the league going to hold off? It's really about understanding the priorities about the teams between you and your next pick, about whether you should prioritize it or not. If you have 2 top 100 picks and you're a team that's traded something away, I can't see doing it anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I just think it's got to be such a tough discussion. And it's going to be even, I mean, how much have we talked about running backs on this podcast? The fact that there's so many of them in this draft that's coming up. That's both good or bad because there are some talented dudes that you might be passing on. The flip side is there are going to be some talented dudes in the 4th and 5th round because there are that many of them, I think, in this draft class. I think this is the deepest running back draft class we've seen. Obviously, if they all declare, some will decide to go back, some won't. Some will go into the draft. But I think it's a really great draft class. I think it's really going to be put to the test this offseason because of what is the value of a running back anymore. We've seen Kenneth Walker, we've seen Breece Hall, we've seen Dameon Pierce have an impact, but does it scare you because they do take such a pounding if they do become RB1 right away? If you don't have a complimentary back at that point, it's going to be interesting to watch, no doubt about it. Thank you so much for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reaction, big game recaps, and the take of the day on Locked On Sports Today. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. We'll be back later this week. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Colts' decision. Is Indianapolis now in the market for a quarterback in 2023? That'll be later in the week. We'll also have our Friday night draft later in the week as well. So stick with us right here on Locked On NFL Draft. We appreciate you being here. For Eric in Denver, for Ryan at home, and me in my studio, we'll see you next time. And as always, let's go.